Hi, I'm Kaya.
And I'm Joanna.
And this is Starlit Citadel Reviews.
Escape from Sunset Island is a semi-cooperative zombie game from Robert Straker and Straker R&D.
In Escape from Sunset Island, the players are a band of zombie apocalypse survivors on an isolated island who discover that there is now a zombie among them. It's playable by 2 to 10 players in about an hour and a half.
Players begin Escape from Sunset Island by placing the board in the center of the table, shuffling the item tokens, and placing them face down on the spaces marked with white halos. A number of character cards equal to the number of players are shuffled and dealt out, and this set must include the zombie card.
All of the player tokens are placed in the hospital, with the zombie lying down. The hospital is considered a single space with 3 doors. The player to the left of the zombie becomes the first player, and the game begins.
On their turn, a human player rolls the white die to determine how many action points they get. 1 action point can be spent to move 1 space, to reveal an item on your space, to pick up an item, to use an item, or to give an item to a player on your space. And 1 point can also be spent to attack.
Players cannot move diagonally, and carrying resource items slows you down. For every food, water, or gas token they're carrying, a human must subtract 1 action point from their total before beginning movement. They may drop an item before moving to regain the lost action point. Dropping an item does not cost any points.
Non-resource items do not slow you down. They may let you cure zombie bites, collect additional action points, carry more items, or fight zombies more effectively.
Attacking always ends a player's turn. A human without a weapon can shove a zombie in an adjacent space with a die roll. On a 5 or a 6, the zombie is knocked down and misses its next turn.
Using a weapon lets you attack from the range listed in its upper left. Rolling one of the numbers marked in gray knocks down a zombie, while rolling one of the red numbers is a headshot that sends the zombie back to the hospital along with knocking it down. Players cannot attack along diagonal lines and can attack through a single wall. An attack can only target a single zombie.
On their turn, a zombie rolls the red die and moves the full number of spaces rolled. If they encounter a fence or a door, they have to stop, and they can move through it on their next turn. If a zombie starts their turn lying down, they must spend their turn getting up.
A zombie also stops if it lands on a human square, which triggers a zombie attack. Both players roll their die. If the human's roll is lower than the zombies, they instantly become a zombie. They drop all their items, and their token is replaced with a knocked down zombie token.
If the human's roll is higher than the zombies, then they are bitten. They collect a bitten counter and must be cured before the beginning of their 3rd turn. A human can be cured by using a medikit or by spending 1 action point at the hospital. If a bitten human is not cured, they become a zombie at the beginning of their 3rd turn.
If the human matches the zombie's roll, they escape unscathed. If they roll a 6, the zombie is knocked down or killed and sent to the hospital if the human had a weapon. If 2 humans share a space and are attacked by a zombie, they both roll for defense and choose the more favorable result. If the roll results in a bite or zombification, it affects only the player who rolled the lower score.
Humans can attack one another. The defender gets to make a defensive roll, and if this matches the attacker's roll, then the attack fails. If the defender rolls a 6, the attacker is knocked down or killed if the defender has a weapon and if the attacker is in range. A knocked down human drops all of their items and must spend their next turn getting up. A killed human respawns on their next turn at the hospital as a zombie.
Now, 2 of the face-down items are actually zombie spawn points. When one is revealed, a new zombie token is placed on it in the knocked down position. In subsequent turns, spawn zombies are controlled by the original zombie player, and they move the same number of spaces as that player's roll. If no zombies have spawned by the zombie player's 10th turn, they add a new, knocked-down zombie to the hospital.
To win, a human player must escape the island on the boat or the plane with a food, a water, and a fuel in their possession. More than one human can share a fuel on the same vehicle, but each of them has to have their own food and water. The zombies win by turning all humans on the island into zombies. The game ends when there are no humans left on the island.
The game also comes with optional motive cards, which can be secretly dealt to the human players at the start of the game. And these can provide alternate winning conditions for each player.
So I really liked Escape from Sunset Island. This is an incredibly simple game, and because it's so simple and the rules are so easy to learn, it makes it very accessible. Another thing that makes it accessible, which is kind of cool, is that you can actually switch out some of the weapons for kid-friendly weapons. So a lightsaber and a lightning bolt and a slingshot, which you can switch out so to make this game more easily playable by the younger set, perhaps. Also, I love the fact that this game feels like a party game. It is a board game, so there's a board, but you can all sort of cluster around and you don't have too much to put sort of in front of you. There's not too much to manage. You can play with up to 10 players, so this feels like a party game to me. And I think it does that very well, and I don't know if I've encountered another zombie apocalypse game which does that and sort of sits in that realm, which I really like. I think a weakness to this game, though, is it definitely isn't at its strongest when you don't have a large group. So if you've got, say, 4 players or less, I would say it's probably getting weaker. It's still fun. I played this game with 2 players, and I still had a good time, but it's definitely not where it should be. It's a stronger game with more people, and then you've got sort of chaos and high tension and a scramble that's going on at the table, just with everybody trying to figure out exactly where they're going, what they're doing, what their goal is at this particular time, whether they're a human or a zombie, and it becomes this sort of wonderful chaos that I really think works, especially as a party game, as a sort of large group party game. I think it's quite successful.
One other potential negative is that more experienced gamers who are coming from very complex decision-making games, and maybe even in the zombie genre, like Dead of Winter, might find the basic roll and move mechanic a little bit unsatisfying. It means that there's a ton that's left up to chance. This doesn't feel like a deep strategy game. This feels like a light tactical scramble because, oh my god, you're getting chased by zombies. The main mechanic really is just running away, and the person that runs away the best is going to win. And so I think the roll and move does add tension to that because you don't know if you're actually going to be able to get away. You might have this really big turn planned, and then you roll the dice and it turns out you have 1 action point and you're already carrying something, so you're stuck. And that's terrifying. It's a really great game, especially if you look at it, as Joanna was saying, with its accessibility in mind, and the fact that this could almost be a gateway to the genre for people who are coming from roll and move games like, say, Monopoly or Candyland, but that still adds some really interesting group dynamics and decision making to the mix. And it's those group dynamics that I really enjoy. I love the fact that the degree of cooperation that's happening in the game at any given point is going to change depending on the game state. This is a pretty cooperative game in that you can't really get very far on your own, because as soon as you carry anything, you basically can't move, and most of the items and most of the player abilities and the vehicles really facilitate working together, as well as that mechanic that you can kind of pool your rolls if 2 people get attacked by a zombie. There's a huge benefit to sticking together in a group, but the game doesn't necessarily mandate it. And the very high attrition rate, the fact that most of you will probably end up being zombies at a certain point in the game, means that that dynamic is constantly shifting. People may decide that they just need to make a break for it, that the group is slowing them down. People who might be your staunchest supporter in one turn are suddenly a zombie in the next, and there's no way they're ever going to cooperate with you. So there's this really fluid dynamic that happens that means that you can't trust anyone, not because there's deception happening, but because things are about to get really messy and people's allegiances are going to have to change. I also really enjoy how much fun it is to be a zombie. This is a game where, you know, everybody who's a human is very likely to lose very early on, in that they're not going to accomplish their goal of getting off the island. But instead of getting knocked out, which is fairly common in these kinds of light games with lots of player elimination, you could turn into a zombie instead. And all of a sudden you have a new goal, which is just to screw up everybody else. It's fun. It means that even if you lose in the first or second turn, like you can lose very early in this game as a human, but there's still tons of incentive for you to stay engaged. You can build new alliances. All of a sudden the zombies get to cooperate as well. And it really does mean that everybody can stay engaged right until the end. And it's a lot of fun no matter what stage you're at in the game, and no matter whether your initial goals are even possible or not.